Jungkook fell beside you, breathing heavily. Your breath came in ragged gasps as the aftermath of an intense moment with him. You stared at the ceiling, your vision still hazy due to the earlier events. He covered you with a comforter and went towards the bathroom to take a shower. As the door closed behind him, the faint sound of water running followed shortly after. Your gaze remained intact on the ceiling as you pondered over your life events in silence. A few minutes later, the sound stopped and the bathroom door clicked open. You instantly closed your eyes, pretending to be asleep. You heard his footsteps approaching closer. He moved the blanket, exposing your naked body to the cold air. The exposure gave you goosebumps. Still, you didn't dare to open your eyes. You bit back a gasp when he cleaned your body with a wet towel. After cleaning, he again covered you with the quilt. He sat there looking at you silently. His gaze, as usual, was cold. It was hard to depict what he was thinking. He heaved a sigh and got up. He went into the bathroom again to dump the wet towel. Coming back, he silently walked to the bed and lay on his side, which was on the other edge of the bed. There was a good distance between you both, enough for two people to fit in. You both were so close yet so far away. You had explored the hidden, untouched parts of each other's bodies, yet there was a lot left to know, an uncovered part of your souls that still awaited unraveling. There was an invisible charm which seemed almost impossible to cover up, for the differences ever went. You indulged in preparing breakfast, your mind occupied with optim thoughts. Though they were maids, you liked to cook all by yourself. Cooking kept you sane. This was the time when you could think rationally. You were an orphan. Your parents passed away in a fire accident when you were 5. You were adopted by your father's brother. Your uncle and aunt never treated you right. They kept you to themselves only because your parents left behind their tremendous amount of wealth and you were the sole owner of it. They abused you, both mentally and physically. Your cousins were no less as they bullied you during school hours. You were living in a hellhole, waiting and praying for a way out. When you turned 18, your uncle forcibly made you sign some documents, thereby transferring all the wealth under his name. You thought that they might let you leave as they got what they wanted, but they still kept you in their house, treating you worse than a maid. You tried to escape, only to end up with bruises all over your body. After that, you couldn't bring yourself to fight against. They say tough situations make you strong, but it's not always right. Your situation drained you out completely, emptied you whole. You were exhausted and hopeless. You gave up on everything, on your life, your dreams, your expectations. You even stopped praying to the Almighty to take you out of the hell, to stop your suffering. You had accepted that it was your life when one day your uncle announced that you were getting married. You didn't know when and to whom. You didn't have the right to deny, nor you did. You silently. That's when Jungkook came into the picture. Within a week, you got married to him. You thought finally you were going to get your freedom, but you were wrong. On your wedding day, you got to know that he married you just for an heir, and he was the most feared mafia leader, the walking death. It would be an understatement that you were terrified. You were praying for death. You were trembling with fear. However, your fear subsided when he assured you. You still remembered the words he spoke on your. You were sitting on the bed crying silently. You didn't know what awaited you. Would he try to force himself on you? Or even worse than that, why God was so unfair to you? Didn't you deserve some happiness and peace in your life? Why only? As you heard the door click, you got up and cowered in the corner in fear. Your eyes widened. Heart drummed against your ribcage and chest tightened in fear when your eyes met his. You stuck more to the wall when he closed. You cried out when he stepped towards you. You closed your eyes as more tears rolled down your cheeks. However, you opened your eyes when you heard his footsteps going away from you. When your eyes met his, he was standing near the door. There's food for you. He jutted his chin towards the table in front of you where a plate full of food was placed that he brought along with himself. But you were too scared to notice. My room is next to yours. Call me if you need anything. Saying so, he opened the door. He paused and looked at you again. And rest assured, nothing will happen without your consent. You are my wife and you will be respected. Change and sleep. You are safe with me. He looked at you for a moment longer than usual. You felt weak in your knees, more tears rolled down your cheeks. His words surged a different kind of feeling in your heart. Somewhere, in the corner of your heart, the tattered hopes arose to life. Perhaps your life was going to change. For good. And as he promised, he never stepped into your personal space, nor did he make any move to initiate any intimacy until one rainy night. You got scared of thunders and went into his room to seek comfort. He let you sleep beside himself. Things heated up when you hugged him, getting scared of the thunderstorm. One kiss led to another, and it happened with your consent. You never regretted it. Instead, you felt loved for the first time. His tender touch, soft kisses, and warm embrace made you feel safe and wanted. That night, you witnessed your man, the man who you. Jungkook woke up and sighed, feeling the bedside empty as usual. He couldn't understand his wife's obsession with waking up early in the morning. He wanted to wake up with you sleeping by his side, and he himself was amazed by his wishes. His world was far away from romantic, cheesy things. However, he couldn't help but wish to experience those moments with. Heaving out a loud sigh, he got off the bed. His gaze fell on the couch where the neatly ironed suit was placed along with his wallet and watch. Though he never asked you to do things for him, nor did he want you to tire yourself unnecessarily, the small gesture always managed to touch his heart. His walls were melting, and you were slowly making your way into his heart where nobody could ever reach. The relationship, which started with the purpose of reproducing an heir, seemed to evolve into something more than that, something sacred and even. You were setting the table with the help of the maids when Jungkook showed up. His dangerous aura was enough to send chills to the maid, but for you, his presence was rather comforting. Lowered their gaze and stepped back. He settled down on his usual seat. You reached out to serve him, but he held your wrist midway. You looked at him, he gazed at you, then at the chair beside him. Sit down and have breakfast with me. But he cut you off by tugging at your wrist, thereby. I can serve myself. I have been repeating the same thing for 4 months. I'd rather like you having breakfast beside me than serving me, Mrs. John. A shiver ran down your spine. The way he calls you Mrs. John always makes you feel powerful, that you had a special place in his. Eat. You can stare at me later. You flinched back to reality and realized you had been staring at him. You quickly averted your gaze to your plate, which he had already served with breakfast. This was yet another overwhelming thing for you. At your uncle's place, you were either starved or used to eat after everyone was done. But Jungkook always made sure you were well fed. He ensured you took at least 3 meals a day. With him, you were happy and at peace. You felt cherished and cared for. Still, there was a constant doubt in your head. Was it all a facade because he wanted an heir? What would happen after he would get what he wanted? Would he abandon you? Or something even worse than. Jungkook stormed inside the room. His desperate eyes paused at your unconscious figure. A doctor was checking on you. His heart was beating wildly. When he got a call saying you fainted, he wasted no time in rushing home. What happened to her? He asked, his gaze fixed on your face. Master, Mrs. John was walking in the garden and suddenly she fainted. Sophia, the maid, replied. He gave a dismissive nod. The maids bowed and left the room. Jungkook stood at a distance, watching the doctor treating you. Relief washed over him as he sighed, slowly regaining your consciousness. Doctor asked you a few questions, but he heard nothing because his entire. You sometimes say you are pregnant. Your eyes widened at the newfound information. Meanwhile, Jungkook froze on his spot. The word pregnant echoed in his head on a loop. I have taken your blood sample. You will get the results by evening. The doctor got up. He bowed at Jungkook and quietly left the room, leaving you with Jungkook. As soon as he left, closing the door behind, you slowly looked at Jungkook, only to find his eyes already stuck at you. You sat upright as Jungkook strolled forward and took a seat. He cupped your cheek, stroking your cheekbone with his thumb. Your heart melted due to his soft touch. He leaned towards your face. You closed your eyes, feeling his lips on your forehead. He pressed a long peck on your forehead. His lips lingered there a moment longer. You felt overwhelmed. Your eyes welled up with tears. Though he had kissed every inch of your body, you had never felt so loved as you felt by that one forehead kiss. Slowly open your eyes as you felt him pulling back. A lone tear rolled down your cheek, but he was quick to take rest. He made you lay down on the bed and covered you with a comforter. Kept looking at him as he kissed your head to lull you to sleep. You wanted to hear his thoughts about the news, but he didn't. Thinking about all of this, you drifted off to sleep. Meanwhile, Jungkook was having mixed feelings. He was happy, he was shocked. He couldn't quite comprehend how he should react to the situation. Hence, he chose to not say anything. His gaze averted from your placed his hand on your abdomen, careful to not disturb your sleep. A different kind of feeling surged in his heart, realizing that the baby was residing there. He felt more protective towards you and the baby, and he knew he could go great heights. As you moved your guts out, you felt your hair being collected away from your face and a hand rubbing your back. Easy, I'm holding you, he whispered as you felt limp in his arms after throwing up. Feeling better? He asked, to which you nodded, not having enough strength to speak. He helped you in rinsing your mouth and washing your face. Wiping your face with the towel, he picked you up and dried. Should I call the doctor? He asked as he laid you on the bed. You shook your head. The doctor already said it happens, especially during the first trimester. The first trimester is about to end. Maybe things will get better for Jung, not pestering you to see a doctor, though he so wanted to call the doctor right then and there. Do you want to eat something? Shook your head and covered yourself with the but you haven't had your dinner. I'm really not hungry. I just want to sleep. You pleaded, looking at him with tired eyes. He nodded, not arguing further. Instead, he glided his fingers through your hair, knowing it helped you fall asleep quicker than usual. This was yet another new change in your life. Throughout your life, decisions were forced on you. You were never allowed to decide anything for yourself, nor had you ever given a choice. However, with Jungkook, you were free to make choices. You could say no to anything, and your decision was respected. He never forced you for anything except the medications. Your inner child was coming to life with him. You started smiling more often. But with all the happiness came fear and doubts, which were not letting you open up to life completely. The wounded dreams and the shattered expectations were holding you back from enjoying your life to the fullest. There was this constant fear of everything disappearing one day. What if one day you woke up and realized everything was just a dream and you was you were brushing your teeth, your hand was rubbing your 7.5 month baby pump. This was the most euphoric feeling to grow a life within yourself, the blessing of being a mother. And you were even more grateful that you got to experience it with Jungkook. After marrying him, your life was nothing but bed of roses. You were leading a life you never thought you would. A person who was known to rule the dark world, who was known for his ruthlessness and brutal ways of killing someone, was healing your broken soul. Your train of thought broke when you felt wetness between your legs. Your eyes widened when you saw blood dripping down your thighs. Breathing turned heavy. Your heartbeat accelerated due to fear, fear of losing your child. No, no, this a sob escaped your lips, as you clutched your baby bump. Jungkook, you whispered. Tears continued to stream down your face. Jungkook, you cried out loudly, crouching down in pain as the contraction hit your abdomen. Within seconds, the door burst open, revealing Jungkook. He looked at your teary face and his forehead creased in confusion until his gaze traveled down. For the first time in his life, the sight of blood scared him. He was shaken to his core. He was too afraid that he couldn't move a muscle to reach his wailing wife. Jungkook, you cried, brought him back to reality. The gravity of the situation slowly sank in, and he finally lifted his feet to reach you. He cradled you in his arms, and you clutched his shirt tightly, seeking comfort in his. Calm down, nothing will happen to you both. I'm here, okay? I won't let anything happen to you. Pressed a kiss on your head and picked you up. I'm taking you to the hospital, okay? You'll be fine. Just don't. My wife, how is my wife? He asked the doctor as soon as he stepped out of the OT. She's fine, Mr. John, out of danger. Luckily, blood was arranged on time and we saved her. Relief washed over him, but another question arose in his. And our child? He gulped down a lump that formed in his throat as he asked the question. He wasn't ready to hear anything otherwise. She is fine too, but we have to keep her in natal care for a month or so. Her organs are still. She He paused, unable to speak further. You got a daughter, Mr. John. Congratulations. Jungkook's throat clogged up with a rush of emotions. He didn't know how to react. When I meet my wife, as soon as she regained her consciousness, Doctor replied and left after giving a polite smile. Meanwhile, Jungkook rubbed his face and ran a reckless hand through his hair. His heart was finally at ease. Jungkook stepped inside the room and found you looking out of the window. He had clarity in his head. The feelings, the things he felt for you had finally had a name. Since the day you stepped into his life, it changed for good. Got a family he never had. He got someone to take care of and someone who looked after him. You provided him the biggest happiness of his life by making father. He was the happiest that he even expressed in words. He cleared his to gain your attention. You tilted your head and burst into cries as soon as your eyes met. His gaze softened and closer to you, holding your hand. He took a seat on the stool beside your bed. I want to see her. He nodded, caressing your head. We will, once the doctor allows. He tried to calm you down, but your heart wasn't at peace. They didn't let me hold her. They just took her away. You cried out. Just nodded at your. I'll take her, okay? But calm down. She's still weak. Doctors are treating her. You are not well yourself. When you both get better, I'll take you to see her. You wiped your tears, kissed on your forehead. How long do I have to wait? Not too long. We'll see her soon. Now sleep. You need to rest to get better. Come on. You were still sleeping, but his reassurance made you calm down a bit. You slept in no time due to the effect of medications. Jungkook sat there staring at you silently. The sole thought of losing you shook him from inside. Now he knew he couldn't be a separation from you. Came as a part of his life and became a part of him. Losing you meant he would lose himself. And now there was a new addition in his life, his daughter, who he hadn't seen till now. How could he see her without you? You were righteous to see her first, as you had nurtured her in your womb. His rights came after you. He felt complete. Sleep got disturbed in the middle of the night. You woke up and the sight before you made your heart melt. Jungkook was sleeping beside you with your daughter on his chest. His one hand was securely wrapped around her, while his other hand was on your hair. Your daughter, Angel, was kept in natal care for 2 months. It had been a week since she was brought home, hale and hearty. Jungkook was the happiest. You could see his eyes reflecting with affection whenever he looked at your little bean. He was already spoiling her and you as well with his love and care, like lulling you both to sleep every night, taking care of your meals, comforting your wailing daughter so that you could sleep well. Even this gesture was small, yet it was enough to soothe your wounded heart. A subtle smile curved on your lips, thinking how your life changed within a year. You were surrounded with happiness and only happiness. All the nightmares, the heinous monster were gone. There was no one to harm you. You weren't even scared because you knew Jungkook would not let. You took a deep breath as the cold breeze brushed past your bare arms. The weather was nice, the night was still young. Your husband and daughter were sleeping in the room, and you sneaked out to have a little time by yourself. You hugged yourself and rubbed your arms, feeling cold, but you didn't want to go inside to fetch a jacket. However, a blanket was wrapped around you, and you were engulfed in a hug from back. Are you planning to get sick, Mrs. John? Whispered groggily. You smiled and leaned back in his embrace. How can I get sick when you are there to take care of me? You tilted your head to meet his eyes, smiled wide, and when he narrowed his eyes at you, still not a good reason to pull this stunt. You chuckled and turned around to face him. He held the railing, strapping you between himself and the wall behind, raised his eyebrows when you kept staring at him with a smile. Am I looking funny? You shook your head, the smile remained intact, not faltering even for a moment. He sighed and pressed a peck on your lips, catching you off guard. I have something for you. Your curiosity peaked when he handed you some papers. Confusion marred your expression when he gestured you to read them. You went through the documents and your eyes welled up with tears. You looked at him with teary eyes. These your father's property papers, which rightfully belong to you. The wealth is yours. Your thought clogged up with different emotions. The wealth was the last memory your parents left for you, and it was snatched away from you by your uncle. How did you? You were unable to speak. Jungkook wiped your tears and shook his head. I just back what belongs to my wife, and you don't have to worry about your uncle and aunt. They got what they deserve. Now don't cry. As he said so, the cries got louder. He glanced aside the room where Angel was sleeping peacefully. Even Angel doesn't cry this much. Juggled tears at his lame way of making you stop crying. You know, you're the best unexpected thing ever happened to me. I'm grateful that I married to you. Jungkook's eyes softened. This was the first time you openly said your feelings. And you are the only best thing ever happened to me. And of course, our daughter. You two are my world. He pressed a kiss on your forehead and pulled you in his arms. Rested your head and closed your eyes. He was your safe. It's time you leave what you missed. Looked up at him with confusion. Childhood. You will enjoy your childhood along with Angel, yeah? You deserve all the happiness in the world, and I'll provide you that. Just when you thought he couldn't do more for you, he made your heart smile in the most unexpected ways. Nuzzle your face on his chest and tighten your grip around him. It will be a big problem for you, handling two children at once. You think you can do that? Bring it on. If it's you and Angel, I'm ready for any trouble. Juggle, feeling yourself melting in his arms. Angel likes plushies. I can buy some for you as well if you want. Juggle turned into a full blown. Hey, don't laugh. I'm serious. Plushie, or you want something else? He asked, caressing your hair as he always does. The bunny one. You mumbled and hid your face on his chest due to embarrassment. Jungkook chuckled, pressing a kiss